I rise in support of this initiative. And I rise in support because it solves the major problem that has been the proverbial elephant in the room since these conversations started months and probably years ago at this point. And that problem is to how do we prepare a package that will allow us to keep the Chicago Bears in the state of Illinois. I have much less interest invested in where they choose to build. But the last thing I would ever want to see in this process would be to not come up with a program that could not accomplish the goals you spelled out that the Bears are looking for them to remain the pride of the Midway right here in the state of Illinois. And I think the Sports Authority Act does a couple of things to help do that. The mega project bill had great legs. I thought that issue of property tax certainty would have not only helped the Bears, but would have helped every other major investor looking to invest in the state of Illinois. Unfortunately, as soon as this process got started, the mega project bill suddenly became the Bears bill. And it came to a head in the House a couple of weeks ago, where the mega project bill became the proverbial Christmas tree in the legislative process, with projects being added to this bill for various development projects across this state. And not that I have anything against any of these developments, but I'm not sure the One Central project in Chicago should be attached to this legislation. I didn't believe downtown development in the city of Springfield should have been attached to that solution. I didn't believe a water mega park entertainment center in Metro East should have been attached to this legislation. We all know how this process works. How do we get support on this legislation? There's always a trade-off somewhere. And in that case, and I had this conversation with a number of representatives from both Chicago, Arlington Heights, and the Chicago Bears, my fear was this bill would collapse under its own weight. And I believe that's exactly what happened once our friends across the building sent that bill over here to the Senate. And frankly, I'm pleased that we have finally narrowed the problem down to fix it in its simplest form. If you believe in the concept of local government, I believe that is exactly what this proposal does. It takes away the property tax certainty issue and forces that issue onto the establishment of this new Sports Authority Act in any of these communities that wish to take on this initiative. I had an opportunity to look at some of the very early economic development projections that were put out by the Chicago Bears, and very early, I'm saying probably going back 3 years. We're talking about billions, $2 to $3 billion a year in economic development for this state, in sales taxes and amusement taxes and construction jobs and operations in a facility that doesn't just operate 10 or 12 or 14 Sundays a year and maybe a dozen nights a year in the summertime. This is 80, 100, 120 nights a year in a major multi-purpose development project like an NFL stadium. And I believe that economic development number multiplies by the number of additional uses that a facility like that could use. I think this bill, to your point, fixes the problem. It gives the Bears what they need. It removes that property tax certainty issue from the equation. And I believe any municipality in excess of 70,000 people should have access and equal footing to establish a relationship to have a world-class NFL multi-use stadium built right here in the state of Illinois to keep our Chicago Bears right here in this state. I've surveyed my constituents. They all know how I feel, how important it is to keep the Bears in Chicago. Should we invest everything we need to invest to keep the Bears in Chicago? The 80th percentile said yes. Should we invest infrastructure costs to keep the Bears in Chicago? The 80th percentile said yes. I am very comfortable standing here tonight with my constituents, knowing how I feel about this issue and the support to back it through the polling and research process. I support this initiative to keep the Chicago Bears in the state of Illinois. I would urge a yes vote.